Yo, what is up guys? It is Bumfris, back with another episode of Entitled Parents. This one is going to be a banger and I have a feeling you're going to love this one. I've got a few really good stories for you guys today. They are a bit longer too, so don't forget to smash that like button for 7,329 Bumfris points. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, then sit back, relax, and get annoyed at some entitled parents. For some context, I'm in college. I still live with my parents and offered to pay rent, but they declined. I buy myself lunch and breakfast and only eat dinner about half the time. Anyways, I'm working several jobs. 2 are paid jobs and 2 are volunteer, along with classes and starting my own business. I'm not lazy. At most, I make about $350 to $400 USD a month. My father, however, thinks that I make around $200 USD monthly. These estimates are before tax and loans, so I usually get about a third of this to buy myself food and do whatever else I want with it. Anyway, onto the actual events. My father has been complaining that I buy things without telling him. It's my money, but whatever. He's the account holder, so I figured that I'd go along with it. I decided to write out everything that I want to buy for fun in the next 8 to 12 months. It comes out to around $1,100 US, which is a lot, but I make around $3,000 a year. I posted it on my door, and not even minutes pass before I hear fumbling, and then he slams open the door. I jumped up because WTF, and he says, "Hey, if you're making this kind of money," and then he holds his hand out, snaps his fingers to his palm in a gimme motion. I say, "Dad, you know that's for the next year or more," and he says, "Yeah, but I don't get that kind of money." And firstly, that's bull. My dad's job pays the bills and food and everything by itself, while my mum's job is entirely for fun stuff. Secondly, I later ask him, "I thought you didn't want rent. I can start paying," and he cuts me off and insists that I don't pay rent. However, he also insists that I give him fun money, since I'm clearly making so much. I know this isn't super insane, but seriously, he thinks I make $200 a month and insists that I give him $60 a month. Not because I live in his house, no, just because he's my dad. I'm sorry, but if you're trying to, for literally no reason, take over 25% of what you think your son is earning, especially while he's studying and doing 2 volunteer jobs, then you seriously need to take a step back and look at the way that you parent him. I don't know what it is about this one, but it just really angers me. Like seriously, who says just give me some money for fun stuff, especially to their kid of all people? Honestly, I just don't know what to say. Entitled parents are just the worst. In my freshman year, I was roommates with a guy who had fairly well-off parents. Let's call him John. John was a child actor, and although he isn't one you'd recognize immediately, he's played side characters on big sitcoms and did some voice acting on some pretty popular kids shows. His parents hold him to very high expectations and were very strict with him and his acting. So when he got into our university, which is considered a top 10 university globally, his parents held him to that same standard, which for a now liberated young adult with almost no maturity, he did the exact opposite of everything he should have done. He slept all day, partied all night, never studied, didn't go to class, etc. Yet, when his parents would call him to check up on him, I would always be mentioned in the conversations. They needed to make sure that I was a good influence on their son. At least that's what they would tell him. And they would constantly ask if I was partying often, doing drugs, bringing girls over late into the night, pretty much everything that he was doing. They wanted to ensure that I wasn't doing it to keep their son safe. This goes on for months. Whenever his parents would call him during his midday nap, and I'd be in between classes, I'd always hear him defending me to his parents, and he'd go beet red whenever I'd walk in and hear what they were saying about me over the phone. So I'd leave and wait until his call ended, since I knew he already felt embarrassed enough. I didn't really think anything of what they were saying either. I just thought it was ironic and told John afterwards that he didn't need to apologize, since they weren't his thoughts. Around the end of the semester, John is told by his major department that he would likely flunk out college if he didn't ace the final exams in at least 2 of his 4 classes, and that he would have to retake the other 2 regardless of how he did. Moreover, he would lose a scholarship that paid a substantial amount of his tuition. He had to call his dad and tell him the bad news while I was on the top bunk of the bed studying, and his father is shouting so loud that I can hear him through John's phone with my earbuds in. Eventually the question is asked if I had anything to do with John's bad grades. And before John can say anything, his dad determines that John was covering for me because I was a bad influence, and that since I was around him all the time, I was the reason he failed. He demanded to speak to me and wanted me to tell him everything I did to his son and how I corrupted him, And when John said that I didn't do anything, it only made him angrier. And after telling me that I would pay, he hung up. He already knew my name and of course where I lived, but I didn't think he would do anything with that information until I got a call from the University Student Affairs Centre telling me that John's father has requested access to my personal information through the student portal. It's basically a website with financial aid and enrollment info, and they told me to change my passwords in case I thought that my data was at risk. I tell John that his dad tried to access my info, and of course, he called his dad to ask him what the hell he was doing. Dad said that because John was failing, he was pulling John out of college, and that he was coming in a few days to talk to me about my part in all of this. John asks him again to ask why he asked the school for my info, and John's dad just hung up on him. I couldn't focus on that BS at the time since I had my own exams to prep for, but as he said he would, he showed up as this fairly skinny, balding guy, desperately trying to cover up his receding hairline by brushing as much of the stringy, blonde hair of his to the front of his head. I came down with the flu right before exams, so sadly, I was forced to be in the room while John moved out, with his dad berating the both of us while I have my earbuds in and feel like I'm going to puke. John looks like he's going to cry because he doesn't want to leave, and I peek over my laptop to see his dad putting books and notes in the garbage and repeatedly asking John if he has officially withdrew from the university until John just barked yes at him. John's dad then turns to me and says something along the lines of, "Alright, now you?" Again, I insist that I didn't do anything to his son except live with him, and the dad demands that because I turned his kid from an accomplished actor to a college dropout, I should withdraw from the university too. John is now yelling at his dad to leave me alone, and I'm telling him that there is no way I'm dropping out for his ego. He demands my laptop and portal login info, and I tell him that if he even so much touches my laptop or me, I'm calling the police. This escalates to a straight up shouting match amongst the three of us until the RA knocks on the door, warning us that if we don't quieten down, he will get campus security to come up and settle the issue. The dad quiets himself again and calmly asks me to withdraw again because it's only fair. I say no because, again, I didn't do anything. There's a silence in the room as he approaches the edge of my bunk. He's glaring at me. I'm putting my earbuds in because chemistry won't study itself, and he asks again, gripping the railing and almost hissing the question. I say no. Again, didn't do anything. He finally decides that I'm not worth talking to anymore, and he says that he'll tell my parents everything I did, and that they would make me leave college if he couldn't. And with that, he left with John. I got a text from my dad about a day later, and that both he and my mum basically told him and his wife to F off and never contact me again in far more elegant terms. I then got a barrage of emails and texts and Facebook posts from the parents pretty much saying that I was at fault for ruining their son's life and that I don't deserve that seat at my uni, so I blocked them. Every now and then, my parents would get FB messages or emails that they just ignored. John angry reacted my graduation pics on Facebook a few months ago, so out of paranoia, they were spying on me through his account. I blocked him too, and I hope that he understands. You know, for one of the first times ever, I'm almost completely lost for words at what to say with this story. I mean, the worst thing is, John actually seems like he was probably a pretty cool guy. He always stuck up for OP, and never once did he throw him under the bus to make himself look better to his parents. That aside though, the fact that his parents thought that it was okay to not only attack OP for literally no reason whatsoever, but to also then go out of their way to contact his parents, try and make them feel bad and try and get them to kick their own son out of university, that's just some next level entitled parenting, and honestly, both of these parents are probably just beyond repair. Hopefully John's doing okay now, but with parents like that, I don't like his chances. My family and I immigrated to the US when I was 7, and for the first 3 months we were here, we lived with a relative of my mum's who immigrated a few years before us. The dad helped my dad going to interviews, walked him through buying a car, and helped us find our bearings in the US. My family and I are Buddhists, and this family are solidly fundamentalist Christians. While we lived with them, they strongly encouraged us to go to church with them every Sunday, and when they tried to keep us going to church with them, when my family found a temple and started attending that temple, they started treating us like crap. Their sons would pick on me and make fun of my English and told me that I won't go to college and probably just end up being a repairman. The mum and their daughter would make fun of my sister for her rapid weight loss and gains. When we found out later that this was due to lupus and she had to be hospitalized, they told my mum that the reason my sister is sick is because we worship demons. About 15 years ago, the dad lost his job. My parents, who were now doing well, needed to retile the house. They hired the dad to do it, and when I asked them how much they were charged, I was floored, thinking that they miscalculated. I told them that they were overpaying, but my dad just said, "We're paying them back." This happened again. Every home improvement my dad did, he would always hire the dad and would always be overcharged. The crappy thing is, the work was always beyond subpar. Like the retiling work, for example, I had to regrout the entire job when I visited one holiday. On top of this, they would always ask to borrow money and never pay my dad back. At this point, I figured that my parents had paid them back and then some. Frankly, I was completely done with them when I heard what they said about my sister. One day, I got a wedding invitation. Their middle son is getting married. Not wanting to have anything to do with them, I RSVP no. And about a month later, I got a call from their mum asking why I hadn't sent a gift yet. She demanded that I sent a gift despite my protest and that I'm not obligated to. Then, she mentioned how my family owed them and she knew how I could afford to send gifts because I had a well-paying job and how she always prayed for us to be saved. When she said this, it triggered the wheels in my brain to turn and I told her that she was right. I was being rude and I will send a gift. When I hung up, I immediately looked up every Buddhist, Muslim, Hindu, Jewish, Jain, Sikh, and Zoroastrian house of worship in the area and made a donation in the happy couple's name. Then, I also donated to the Satanic Temple and brought the entire family membership cards and certificates to the Satanic Temple. About 2 to 3 weeks later, I again got a call from the mum. I answered as politely as I can and said, "Oh hi, did you enjoy the gift?" This was met with a barrage of yelling, screeching, and a torrent of insults. I was barely able to make anything out. The daughter called my sister, and the middle son called me later demanding an explanation. I flat out told him everything and was 100% non-apologetic about it. Actually, I did say that I was sorry for not being there to see the whole thing go down. When I spoke to my sister later on, this is where we were able to piece things together. They had the whole wedding shower at the church after services, and they were opening their gifts then. Well, they got my gift, and everyone was uncomfortable seeing all of the donations to their houses of worship with definitely non-Christian names made in the couple's names. This was when the bride's parents flipped out when they saw the membership cards and certificate with the family's name on it, and they freaked out even more when they saw the bride's membership card. The bride's parents demanded that she breaks off the engagement, and she did. Everyone in their church apparently thinks that the entire family are Satanists trying to corrupt the church. Was I an a-hole for doing it? Yeah, no debate there. But I figure, with how much I donated, I don't think anyone can call me ungrateful or say it's a cheap wedding gift. But really, I am sorry that I wasn't there to see the whole thing go down. You know, at the start of this story, there was no way that I thought this was going to go like this at all. I was just reading through this thinking this was going to be a story about how somebody was entitled and they never got any kind of revenge on them, whatever. You know how it usually goes with entitled parents. But the more this story went on, the more that I realized that this is just a massive crossover between an entitled parent and supernova revenge. Honestly, it could have gone in either of these subreddits and I'm sure no one would have complained. Alright everyone, that is going to be that for today's episode of Entitled Parents. I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like on the video. I would appreciate that more than you know. And if you are new around here, don't forget to smash that subscribe button as well. I know I said at the start of the video this one was going to be a banger, but I actually thought that this was an awesome video. There were some really good stories in there and they were quite a bit longer than the stories I usually read out as well. I know that you guys have asked me in the past to read out the longer stories because they're typically the ones that you guys don't want to read out as much yourselves. Shorter stories are much easier to read, obviously, for yourself and myself, but I am more than happy to read the longer ones because if you guys get more entertainment out of it, then I get more entertainment out of entertaining you guys. Anyway, it's a bit of a loop, but you guys get where I'm going. I love making videos that you guys enjoy, so I'll try and put out some longer stories as often as I can. Speaking of these specific stories, I was thinking about doing something like a pro revenge or a nuclear revenge in the next couple of days. I might be able to do another video tomorrow, but because of work, it'll likely have to be something like a choosing beggars. It's just a little bit quicker for me to make, and then at least I'm still getting a video out for you guys. But that last story, let's be honest, it probably fit into a pro revenge / nuclear revenge pretty well. And I know that you guys used to love those types of videos on my channel as well. So what I'll do is I'll do one of those if you guys would like to see that, but you'll have to let me know in the comments below because I'm not just going to put a video out there that you guys are going to hate. So let me know down in the comments if you would like a pro revenge, nuclear revenge, or I know there's some other kind of revenge one. I forget what it is though, but if you guys want to see it, let me know in the comments below and I'll get that done. Otherwise though, I am going to wrap things up there for today's episode of Entitled Parents. I just want to say again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate each and every single one of you, and I'll be pushing out as many videos as I can for you all too. But that is that, so I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow or the next day for an episode of Choosing Beggars. Bye.